This is an interesting turn in the lineup for them. Of course, you do maybe have to be a little bit concerned. Pugna and Crystal Maiden, very sort of squishy, low health heroes. Not a lot of maneuverability for them either. So that is something Hokori could look to potentially take advantage of. They've got a Nyx that can roam around, and presumably they're gonna pick up somebody with the rest of these picks who could grab something like not a BKB, excuse me, a Blink Dagger play as well. So their positioning is going to have to be incredible for DogChamp, but if they stay safe, there's quite a bit they can do in these fights. And now with the tiny pickup for them as well, got a lot more damage to throw into the mix because that pretty much has to be carry tiny.
Yeah, and in the back of my mind, I was thinking about whether or not they could run a hero like maybe the NP, just because we've been seeing, especially Speed, picking it up so many times in his games. But then you've got a very low lockdown line. Then you're a little bit too all in on the Storm Spirit. And of course, yesterday, Ruyoya did a fantastic job on this Tiny. Do agree with you, this is most likely either going to be a Stonebank or a Speed Tiny. But at the same time, feel like this is a pretty decent tiny game. It's not really going to help you with your wave clear as much. I think that's why they banned out the pit lord in the second phase, just making that high ground a little too impossible to breach, especially for the Beastmaster with the creeps. But at the same time, Tiny is a hero that's very adept at not only kind of disjointing the Snapfire from his lineup, but also just bursting the Nyx Assassin. Instead of doing the Ava toss, you do the toss Ava, doesn't get the Carapace off when he lands, usually will die in that combo, and then well, you don't have a Nyx Assassin, and that's also where that is your secondary jump. Unfortunately, though, Coddle, so this is going to be, I'm thinking, is it going to be a Snapfire mid? Does this mean, or it could be a Coddle mid, I suppose. And I mean, Coddle versus Storm mid, we saw that play out so many times, especially in the earlier leg of BTS Pro Series, where they both just farm, they both get absolutely jacked. Usually the Coddle rushes an Orchid in that lane situation as well. They also have Coddle Beastmaster, so makes a little bit of sense, but picking Coddle into both the Pugna and the Tiny in a core position is a little bit scary, I think.
And yeah, at this point, Hokori do still have flexibility. Analog has taken both of those heroes mid in the past, so I guess we'll have to see whether it's the Snap or the Keeper, what kind of damage and teamfight angle they're looking for out of their mid laner. Because the Snap and the Coddle play vastly sort of different styles when they are put in that core position. So interesting to see what they decide to pick up. In terms of that final pick, though, DogChamp really have no ambiguity there. That has to be Yuma's hero, so already start banning things away. The Terrorblade gets taken out for them. And of course, Hokori kind of did half their job for them earlier on in Phase 2. The Dusa, the PA, and the PL were all taken away already.
Ooh, and I do like the Wraith King ban as well. That's that active, again, Blink hero that Yuma loves to play. And versus a Tiny, that's where you have an interesting choice to make. Do you decide to go for an Agi hero, a Scotty carrier, try to slow him down, try to make it almost impossible to play versus? It's where DogChamp's earlier TA ban kind of makes this Tiny feel even better. It's also where you wonder, is there any chance of a Yuma Morphling? Probably not, but you know, it's heroes like that that make you think twice about what you're actually picking up here. Very plainly as well, if Yuma really wanted to, and if we wanted that one-to-one counter, Yuma Razor is certainly on the table, and that would be very obnoxious to deal with if you're DogChamp. You get that kind of walk the dog situation where even though Tiny builds up quite fast, Razor's right there with him, but okay, Spectre, they switch up the draft. That makes the Coddle pick feel even worse. And I wonder with the Spectre pick, if we do see the Snapfire naturally slot into that mid lane. But yeah, it will be the Speed Tiny as well. Offlane Tiny is something that we've seen experimented a lot more in SA than we have seen in North America. But it's still just Tiny at the end of the day. Maybe a little bit less farm, maybe a few more items in between. But definitely hits hard, definitely is going to be initiator. And it also is a pretty strong lane, I think.
Yeah, that lane is going to be very interesting for them. And now if you're Hokori, you got to be careful because you're going to need someone that can do damage, that can fight, but can also still maybe keep pace with the Spectre. So, well, I don't know. They don't even have much time to think this one over. They were down to 4 seconds, so they're going to make a choice. And, okay, the Juggernaut for them is maybe not quite what I was expecting, but it does give them someone who's going to be significantly harder for DogChamp to just sort of catch with some of those haunt plays.
Yeah, as soon as the Spectre's picked it, it's an easy choice versus the Tiny, just because it is a very hard punish lane. If you ever upstep on speed, especially pre-level 6, you kind of just die. And this does mean, however, that Analog is going to take up the coddle. They didn't decide to get cheeky with it. It is going to be that Keeper of the Light mid. What a scary game to be Analog. You're going to need to either decide to rush immediately for that Blade into BK. It's an item into BKB this game, and I think no matter what he chooses, it is a very easy game to die. I think how clean this Kato is going to be played is going to be paramount for Hokori's lineup, because if he starts going down early, it's really easy for him to die. Then you could just see them start to kind of lose control of their towers very early on here. Whereas that is the name of the game for DogChamp. DogChamp are going to be searching. They're going to be looking, and they're going to be conceding. Honestly, a lot of these early tier 1s, it's where Vitaly, even though he is going to get his board axed off by the CM, has a pretty nice game set up for the Beastmaster. It's where both supports are very weak for him after that laning stage, and then you're playing versus a Spectre. Once you get home with the Dominator, Stonebank has to leave, so it makes you wonder if DogChamp are going to be able to find those easy kills, or if they're really going to start grinding to a halt in that mid game.
Yeah, and I mean, on the other side of things, do you think that DogChamp try to turn the tables, depending on how quickly Ryoya and Speed get up? Maybe if they're the squad being the more aggressive of the two and looking for those ganks, then you can keep Hokori sort of at bay with some of those tower pushes.
Yeah, and if they could ever force the tower trade, that is ideal. That's what DogChamp need to do a really good job of. If Hokori maybe show 3 or 4 heroes in a lane preemptively, if Bloody Nine, as he has had the really good lane vision, knows where the opponents are before anything gets started, then they can force those trades. And force trades for DogChamp is going to be the name of the game. Any early tower is going to be a faster Blink Dagger on speed. Speed as well is one of those offlaners where, love him or hate him, he will stick in his lane. He will finish his item, and then he will rotate out. He is your wave pusher. He is the guy who will really not make that easy rotation because he knows it's bad. He knows that if he's forced by his opponents to do something, so he's just simply not going to do it. Whether that's at the Constant Stonebake's farm, we'll have to see. But whether or not he gets his Blink Dagger in that fast fashion is going to make their game easier or harder drastically. Because with that, well, Ryoya has somebody to play with. He's got a friend. He's not getting any help from the supports this game, aside from Yarn giving him just more mana. It's where you really are going to need that time to be that second foot in the door. Otherwise, the lineup is just really going to slow down, and then everything is the Storm Spirits, where not Ryoya can actually carry just everything on his back. I don't think you want to be in that position.
And I think that's something that they really looked like they avoided in their series against Osmium. They were able to make space for Stonebank. There wasn't a whole lot of pressure put onto him consistently. Not necessarily because DogChamp were being crazy defensive, but because they were actually playing forward and giving Stonebank space to farm just because they were pushing their opponents back far enough. So see if they can do something similar here, as Vitaly got into quite a bit of trouble trying to push for that extra bounty rune. Instead, his teammates will help him back off, but he did lose a pretty substantial amount of his health, and his regen situation is maybe not fantastic. So he might have to step back a little bit through the first wave or two, but Bloody Nine doesn't want to let him do that.
Yeah, no, it's annoying, and Vitaly's already prepared himself for this lane in not going for just the pure rush of the Helm of the Iron Will. He's done this, but I think he might just be dead. Yeah, that's a brutal spell, level 1. Crystal Nova, that hits different.
Hell of a lot of slow and a pretty substantial amount of damage too, which at least CM's got that going for her, right? Not the most popular support pick, but she can hit hard, as you said, so first blood to the side of DogChamp. It's a bit unfortunate that it doesn't go directly to Stonebank, but even the assist gold makes this lane a little bit more comfortable for that Spectre.
Yeah, and it's the early kills that allow Stonebank to get maybe a little bit more XP. It's where Bloody Nine gets to maybe feel a little bit more like a hero. Of course, his main job in this lane is just kind of get the ranged creeps, make sure Vitaly doesn't skill up his board too early. And in a way, the CM pick extends the laning phase, and it's where El Misho will be going for the creep pulls. It just makes sense, but beyond hitting his level 2 so soon, El Misho might be in a little bit of pressure. Yeah, he can't connect the waves here. Oh, no boy.
The first blood gets him the experience push up, and yeah, this lane all of a sudden is kind of awkward. Look at him go. B9 just pushing onto El Misho. Doesn't quite have the move speed because it's Crystal Maiden, but put the Fear of God into El Misho. The Nyx Assassin has to back off and use the salve on himself, so nice benefit. And now you've got Frostbite in case Vitaly does try that board.
Yeah, and they're positioned very interestingly here. Of course, B9 without any tangos is certainly sitting on maybe a little bit lower HP. Actually gets a tango pass to him from Stonebank, but uh, it's where without that creep pool, your Nyx assassin is not getting his level 2. He's having to sap from Vitaly. Vitaly's not going to get his level 5 all too fast, and maybe get a kill into
Wow.
B9 here, but with the stick, oh, what a carapace!
Nice. Very well
Oh,
timed, and man, he really needed that. He just hit that second level and sort of sprung the
just hit it.
trap.
He just skilled it up, and then he doesn't go for that Crystal Nova if he thinks that El Misho's level 2. That's such a sick timing from El Misho.
Well, Misho knows what he's doing, that's for sure, as he gets a little bit of revenge there, so evening things out in the lane. Meanwhile, what's going on up top? We have Yuma just really running down Yarn here with the Blade Fury. Should be able to find the kill, and Tower Shot or two is really not going to affect him too significantly, so... Well, part of the reason why, right? You wanted the Jug in this lane against the Tiny. There is very little Speed can do once that spin starts going, and Hugna with no boots is not going to be able to outrun that play either, as Gardic will deny himself. Keeps take him down, so he really didn't have much left to work with anyway. He'll take a quick trip back to the fountain. Speaking of trips back to the fountain, though, El Misho takes an involuntary one. It's B9 again, able to sort of run after him. This is still no boots Crystal Maiden. He really should not be in those positions, but 9 is there, and that's 2 kills on the board for CM.
Yeah, and he's still taking a lot of XP, but if it's gonna work out like this, not really getting punished for it. I think that's just El Misho running out of resources perhaps there, and it's okay. Once in a while, getting a double stun, but it's where Crystal Nova is just that much more of an annoying spell. At least Vitaly's gonna have his Helm of Iron Will in a sec here, ferries it out, but it's still where, unfortunately, you don't really have the levels right now to become the Beastmaster that takes over the safe lane. It really is why I think, unfortunately, they just kind of ran out of bans. It's not like you're going to ban CM in a normal game of Dota, but it still feels like an ugly situation that's played out. One that can certainly recover from. It's what Beastmaster does. He just gets bodied until he gets the Helm of Iron One, and then he's back, but it's still rough.
Yeah, Holly's going to be able to recover just fine. The problem is that Stonebank is, well, just going to be farming just as well, and that's a Spectre farming versus a Beastmaster. His top lane, Yuma, to get himself taken down, tried to get the healing ward off, and did technically do so. It just still wasn't enough to actually keep him alive, and now back down bot. They go in onto Vitaly, they find him again. B9 just refuses to give them any room to breathe here. He's got his 3rd kill of the game, and El Misho, you gotta be kind of careful here, because he's still got the Spectre behind him. Misho is going to get hit up here. The Carapace comes out. Stonebank, though, doesn't actually have the mana to go any further. So Misho will be fine, but another kill is safe lane.
Yeah, and with all this action and as well not having a large camp for the longest time here, just because B9 blocked it, you haven't had really all that alone time in the lanes here. I think now we're going to start to see the CM feel a lot weaker, just because especially getting 2 points in the Arcane Aura, which of course helps out his entire team, but also means that these level 1 spells are going to start feeling less and less effective here. Not to mention Vitaly finally feels brave enough to get a point in the Wild War. But still, oh my goodness, it's just such an efficient hero for making these trades happen, and it's just, in doing so, giving Stonebank a lot of farm. I mean, 27 and 8, not the most farmed, of course, eclipsed by both our mid laners here, but that's why we haven't talked about the mid lane, because this is not a lane. This is a farming simulator.
Yeah, there's just nothing happening there other than just last hitting, but maybe that changes. We do see the supports trying to get involved here, trying to protect those runes, but looks like Hokori are going to sort of win most of those fights, and Analog, oh, okay, that's why. He doesn't even have a bottle, so Misho didn't really have any reason not to take it himself. He's just going to send some illusions out, get a little bit of vision, but, well, interesting sort of play here, finally coming mid as Analog decides he doesn't just want to farm his own creeps, he'd like to actually maybe take away some of Ryoya's, and well, your Storm, he's got plenty of mana regen and cost reduction with the talismans, but it doesn't really help him on the health side of things, so he has to take a step back, and Analog is ever so slightly pulling away net worth-wise in this middle lane.
Yeah, it's the one difficult thing, especially with Illuminate still being broken, where you can't really tell where he's actually illuminating. It always ends up pointing towards this fountain, which is a strange visual bug, but At the same time, the Storm can make the TP rotations. The Coddle cannot really do that. It's where Analog, even though he just finished off his Boots of Travel, should feel a little bit less effective than what the Storm Spirit might be able to do on the map, especially if he could find Gardic here. But nice ward. Place, he's going to scout out the Storm Spirit.
Actually just
But
TP'd himself bot, but this play's taking too long to develop. By the time they get here, Yarn has arrived. He's going to try and go for some haunt plays to dance around him, and well, that keeps him alive for now, but that's only because Hokori are just going to turn their attention to the easier kills. They took down B9 already. Yarn trying to sort of hide in the tree line, but they've got the Hawk here for vision the whole way through. They'll clean up both of the supports. Can they get Stonebank? They knock him back. They hit him with the Illuminate. There's going to be the Impale. And Hokori with the clean sweep. Analog, well, hey, it's not the most graceful play in the world. It's just a straight-up TP in your face, but if it works, it works. On the other side, Ryoya was able to make a similar move up top, but they get 1 kill to Hokori's 3.
Yeah, and really thought whenever Relay was forced back to base, you know, a minute prior, that he would TP towards bottom, that he'd TP towards top. Instead, he goes back mid, doesn't give the lane over. I think they just kind of got out-rotated by Hokori. It's where Analog certainly is a very annoying hero. Not to mention early game Coddle, this is his power spike. It's where the Illuminate heal just feels maybe a little too strong. Like a half value would be a good spell. It's just incredible what he's actually able to manage here. And B9 maybe breaks his TP. Not too bad, but the question is, does he pay for this? Well, maybe.
Knock back into Illuminate, even a tower shot coming in there, and B9, not able to dance his way around that one. Analog able to find the kill, and if you're B9, maybe it wasn't worth canceling that TP, considering he's got the bots, but no way of knowing that was going to happen at the time. Meanwhile, up top, El Misho got himself into some trouble. It's a nice 2-man impale. The problem is, he impaled on top of a static remnant, so he does still get taken down, and they clean up a tier 1 tower here, so, well, rotation bot for DogChamp didn't quite work to their favor, so they are just really heavily focusing on that opposite side of the map, and it works. They get the tower, and they do force Yuma out of the lane, and this is not a great start for the Jug, but I'm not really sure if this is going to be enough right now. DogChamp need to take that tower and sort of roll it into further momentum.
Yeah, and Yuma really, interestingly enough, has been the one struggling the most in this game, which is a little bit strange to see. Maybe it's just because of a lack of the combo with the Snapfire, or perhaps getting a few too many creep pulls off on DogChamp's side. But I feel like the Jug versus Tiny Lane should be maybe not favored, but at least a little bit better than what's actually played out here. But maybe it's just Speed feeling a little bit too confident in himself. But they do trade off the towers. Now the question is whether or not DogChamp have enough wave clear to actually deal with this Beastmaster coming in towards their mid lane. You already see he's back. He's Beastmaster. No matter what a start he's had, he's able to just make this rotation very seamlessly. Even though he doesn't have boots, it's going to be that collapse, especially with the carts up, the 10-minute carts. You have to wonder if we see DogChamp force a move, or instead they go for a dodge out. They're even finding their tier 1 items right now, but with Ryoya's Arcane Rune, I feel like we've got to see some type of response. I don't know if it's a smoke, if it's another haunt play. I feel like there's no way we see them give this up uncontested.
Cannot afford to lose tier 1s, both bot and mid, for no fight, so let's see what they can do. Gardic even coming in there with a couple of hits on the little shredder, so yeah, they need the numbers. They are starting to bring heroes over. Speed, meanwhile, got in onto El Misho. Didn't have the damage to find the kill initially, but they should still be able to make this play. El Misho certainly fighting, but not able to survive, and yeah, they get the board too. Rio is able to snipe that out, and well, 5 heroes have to rotate mid ET, but they really couldn't afford to lose that tower.
Yeah, and card killed. You give all of the mana back to Ryoya. Any hero that shows right now, especially Gardic, could be under threat here. And that is where Hokori are doing a good job of being careful. It's a situation where if they stick around too long there, the Coddle dies. If the Coddle ever dies, we've got a massive problem on our hands here. At the same time, I think DogChamp forcing onto the opposing side, onto the tier 1 mid without a blink on the Tiny, it's the Ryoya show. He has to really do everything by himself here. It's why I think they're being so hesitant right now. Even Vitaly, a hero shut out of the game for so long, diving underneath a tower with, what, 17 armor, it's just not a feasible play. You can't go for it. It is where we might see DogChamp ease up a little bit while Speed finishes up his Blank Dagger.
Well, he is pretty close to it. 500 away from finishing that off, so as long as he sort of stays out of sight, I don't think anyone's coming to hunt him down either. But you do have Yuma in the lane now, trying to get the Maelstrom online. Speed, okay, I didn't think he had the damage for that, but just gets the combo. Avatos gets the hit from the grab into the immediate throw, and wow, I mean, Jug just doesn't survive, and that was Yuma just about full health as well.
Yeah, and you could say it's cutting corners on Jug, but that's the issue with this Juggernaut hero. If you're not spinning, if you're not doing something already as a Gardic, it might just go down in the exact same fashion. But unfortunately, with Juggernaut as a carry, he is not the greatest carry until you get your tanky item. It's why in his quick buy, yes, the Scotty queued up, and once you have it, you still have only barely about 2,000 HP. It's one of those issues with Jug as to a reason why we don't see him so much. The agi gain is great, but the strength gain's not so great. The base stat gain is not so great. It's where, unfortunately, your hero's been tweaked down because of Blade Fury. At the same time, looking at top, more sentries placed, more trade, but I'm still just bewildered at Yuma going down like that.
Not really a scenario where we expected him to die, or not a scenario he expected to die either, obviously. But and Yuma is really going to need to put some effort in to catch up. Still the lowest net worth core in the game, and I think, yeah, the Maelstrom's coming out to him now, so at least he's got the means to fight, but he can't be the first one in. He really needs to wait for a Roar, Carapace stun, something like that, so that he can sort of pick his Omni target, but see what they can do. Smoke Play's sort of getting them around the back. Vitaly would love to make some sort of initiation here, but the Crystal Maiden's not really the hero that they want, but it's the only one that they're going to get, and oh, they don't have to overcommit for that. No Roar used. Yeah, I mean, you have to throw out the kisses, I suppose, but we're still in a position to look for a little bit more here as they're trying to push the lane out, but we do have a pause on the DogChamp side.
Yeah, maybe somebody's lagging, but yeah, trading the kisses for the CM, it's just gold. It's just something. That's the cost of their smoke, maybe you could say at the very least, but they also got to see the Tiny's Blink Dagger, so they should be acutely aware on Hokori's side that there is this threat now of the Tiny Avatos. I'd be really annoyed if, like, let's say Almisha just dies in the next few moments because they just decide to dogpile on top of him, but it's also where all of the pressure is still on DogChamp. They're the ones with Haunt. They can make this play happen if they really need to. Ryoya is sitting at full mana. Of course, they are underneath a whole bunch of creeps, so it's not like Hokori wouldn't be able to make that counter jump in a few moments here, but there's also no Jug. Yuma is very far away. There's no healing ward. Really, the only threat right now, healing-wise, is coming from that Illuminate. It's where, honestly, we could see a fight break out in the next few seconds. If not, then we will see kind of that default play out where Hokori will get maybe a little bit more chip damage on that tower with the boars and the creeps, and then it's DogChamp really deciding if they want to use their spells. Unfortunately, it's one of those situations, though, where if you do use your ultimates, maybe you win the fight, but with 20, 30-second death timers, Hokori just TP back mid and take your tower knowing you don't have any ultimates.
Yeah. The potential risks kind of feel like they might be a little bit more than DogChamp are comfortable with, but we'll see. We're getting back underway. No, we're not. False alarm. Apparently, DogChamp needed a little bit of extra time. It was fixed for a second, according to Yarn, and then Discord dies on them again, which... Hell, we've all been there with Discord calls. 1 second, it's perfectly fine, and then it just destroys itself in an instant. So, DogChamp are okay now. This time for real, back into it, and Speed's going to make the move. They jump right in onto Analog to get the kill. Roar from Vitaly is nice, but there's no one here to follow it up. Now they turn onto Almisha. Getting the Nyx Assassin pulled in by the Vortex. Not dead yet, though. Able to pop that Carapace. Trying to run away, but Ryoya will not let him go. Overload gets the kill. And, well, we'll see now, right? They use the ults. Death timers are low. We'll see what Hokori's plan is once those heroes are back in, but at least for now, DogChamp do very well for themselves in Speed with that Blink Dagger really just being the perfect initiator for them.
Yeah, I feel like if I'm Anal, I'm a little sore on that one. I'm just... I feel like Speed really ran the numbers there and decided, yeah, I'm just going to kill him. He's like a 900 HP. I already killed the Jug. Now the real question with Yuma arriving, is this the revenge play? Feel like we should see DogChamp leave here, but Speed is honestly testing the waters. feel like they need to go, though. Feel like it's done, guys. This is a little crazy.
Yeah, there's no haunt, so they won't really have much of an element of surprise here. The
Oh, he's
Illumes keep going through, and Yuma, oh, he's not dead. We tried to warn you, Speed, but he wanted it anyway, and... I mean, in fairness to him, he did get that kill the last time around, but... no guarantees that he was going to get the exact same situation to play out. Now with Speed dead, and no haunt, Hokori have nothing to really be afraid of in terms of taking this tower. They get the objective. They're going to fall back, really, with everything that they wanted.
Yeah, it's worked the last time, but Yuma very smartly bought a raindrop. Had the healing word going as well. I think the raindrops were the more interesting aspect. But bottom, yo, Ryoya just went down half mana, just caught up by the Vendetta in a part of the map that they have not been setting up for themselves. And we haven't really gotten to talk about Almisho all that much just because it hasn't felt like a Nyx game just yet. It has just been him kind of reacting to what's going on. But that is a really nasty kill, and ooh, Almisho might get comboed in a sec here. Here comes the Tiny, but does it actually happen? He needs to connect a little bit further, and I think just barely they're going to miss on each other.
Misho does very well to just basically run as far as he can, but DogChamp, well, we've grouped up. We might as well try something, is the thought process for them. Speed and the two supports will pop the smoke, and well, Yarn sort of breaks that smoke to deal with the creep wave mid, but Speed and B9 could still make a play here. The question is, really, where can they go? It's a little bit awkward. The ping's coming out from the Snapfire, so they know something went down there, and that is Vitali's cue to start backing up.
Is it enough, though? Oh, that's unfortunate. And does B9 get roared? Okay, doesn't get roared for his trouble. That would be a funny way to go down, but yeah, if he scouted out perhaps the Beastmaster there, maybe they go for the jump. Still would have been a little bit of a reach here, and I think that's where DogChamp do need to check themselves a little bit. It has felt like they've been going for pretty much the edge of where they can actually jump, and in some situations it has caught Hokori off guard here, but once we start getting the farm underway, once we start getting a few of these items, I mean, if we get a stat item on Jug and this B can be finished up on Analog, suddenly the team fight from DogChamp is going to get a little bit too difficult. It's where we might need to look for that much later timing. And Speed in the offlane, he's getting a 4-staff. He's getting kind of these utility items instead. We're not seeing that turnaround for items like the Echo Saber into the BKB. It's where you do have to be very careful here. Analog is kind of testing the waters here. You might lose your snap, but look at the heal. Gartic's not dead.
Okay. Got the D ward. He should go down now, but B9.
Trade.
Yep. Perfectly fine if you're Analog. Takes the trade. Ryoya, meanwhile, an attempt was made onto Almisho, but the real fight is actually still in the river. Speed in a very awkward position here. Vitali committed the roar. Speed is now really unable to walk away from this, and Vitali just sort of runs him down with those creeps, and this is a bit of a downside here for the Tiny. Maybe that 4-staff sort of saves him if he's able to finish it off, but without it, he just has no movement after the blink.
Yeah, and, well, they feel like they have a lead. I know Speed feels like he still has a lead with how his game's been going so far, but it's those overextensions. They have Haunt. They want to make a play. They want to look for those types of picks, but I feel like the gravity of the game is starting to take hold of DogChamp a little bit here. They just got their BKB on Ryoya. They want to finally take down this middle tower. Once they bust down the mid tower, then their smokes can be a little bit more effective. They can actually cross the river, but until then, Analog with the BKB, he's going to be a vanguard of the mid lane. They really need to stick themselves that far yet again, but if they do, well, we've seen what happens. It's where they really need to get a clean, concise jump. Unfortunately, though, it's Hokori with the lane vision that's just kind of scouting out exactly what they want to do. They know right now that there are at least 2 heroes sitting in this tree line. And where are they smoking? They're looking in the triangle. They might find Vitali, but they need to find a real quick kill and then turn mid, or they need to change the plan completely.
Like they're going to start breaking towards bot instead, and they could run into Yuma.
Nice.
Okay. Very valuable kill for them there. Don't know if they can turn it into an objective, but with the Yuma kill, you have slowed down that progression, and that's something that they kind of needed, ET, because talked about Yuma coming out of the laning stage was the lowest net worth core. He's just about caught up. He's only about 1,000 behind the Spectre, so slow him down a little bit. You're not going to shut down the Jug entirely at this point, but they find the kill, and they will actually still get this tier 1 tower.
Yeah. It took a while, and ooh, Elmisho just barely walked out onto the sentry, but it's a little scary.
Is he really going to try this? That feels a little bit risky, but they are looking for a play here on the back line. But now with the Haunt coming in, Stonebank is just going to sort of push them away, which means Elmisho was completely alone. Gardic, does he finish the TP? No, he doesn't. Stonebank will kill him off, and that's maybe trying to do a little bit too much there for Hokori. I think they kind of almost forgot Stonebank could just haunt in.
Yeah, and even though this is not your typical Spectre build, this isn't what a lot of them have doing, but with the Manta, Roche is actually killable, very killable with Spectre. And it's really just more of a forcing play. It's telling Hokori, hey, your supports are dead, we're going to get a little bit of free damage here, you need to be careful, but without the Haunt, you can only imagine that Hokori are looking and planning their revenge right now. I mean, with all of that focus on the supports, Analog didn't feel pressure to use his BKB in any capacity. They didn't even use the Roar. It was just a little bit too split up there. You just wonder now how DogChamp are going to deal with their opponents running at them if they do decide to do so. I mean, Sanji and Yasha just got finished up by the Juggernaut. If they really want to, Hokori could make that force. Going into Roche, though, that is interesting. Of course, with the Beastmaster, it's not the slowest in the world, but this is going to be, again, that forcing play. It's saying to the enemy team, hey, come here, we need to fight. You guys should look at us right now, but the toss.
Okay. Misho gets tossed onto the high ground. He already used the Carapace, so he's just trying to sort of buy some time. The Roar, though, came in onto Ryoya. Can they actually lock him down? Mortimer Kiss is coming in. Ryoya pops the BKB back up onto the high ground, but Yuma, with that Blade Fury, was trying to do some work. It's not enough for a kill, but they do drop B9 low with the Illuminate, so Vitaly will clean that one up. That's really the first casualty on the DogChamp side of things, but is that enough for Hokori to now go back into the pit? I think they recognize maybe that the Storm isn't quite ready to go. He had to take a trip all the way back to the base, but with B9's buyback, the stakes are getting raised a little bit here, ET, and Hokori would rather not take the risk until they have their own 5-man back.
Yeah, and, well, they're behind the exchange right now, at least in their abilities. They use the Omni, they use the Roar. It's a very scary timing. Yet again, though, you didn't use the BKB on the Coddle. Analog could definitely be a little bit further up here, but they need a dagger. They need vision in the pit now. Even the Nova. Oh.
Just dropping. There's the zip in from Ryoya. Can he grab it? No, he can't. Yuma gets it. Now the Storm actually got stunned up. Secondary stun coming in from the Cookie. Ryoya has to be saved. Yarn's trying to just force health into him. Does work. Ryoya lives. But now I don't know if they're in a great position to take any sort of follow-up fight. Stonebank's at half HP. Ryoya has to fall back. Speed did not get the memo, though. Tried to get the kill onto Elmisho. Wasn't able to do so, and now Yuma coming in. Blade Fury active. Ryoya, though, pops the BKB himself, trying to find a return kill. He does manage to get one, but it's onto a support instead, and now Ryoya doesn't have a whole lot of mana to try and get away. Able to jump over that cliff, though, and it looks like that's enough separation. But at the end of the day, Hokori, they get the trade that they wanted, and they get the Aegis into the Jug's hands. So Yuma is certainly looking a bit more intimidating now moving into these next couple fights.
Yeah, and he doesn't need to be afraid now. He doesn't need to be scared of getting jumped by the Storm Spirit in the Tiny, in those sidelines. We usually call it a farming Aegis, right? But this is just going to be such an easy way to trade out for Yuma. And typically, second Roche does matter just a little bit more for the Jug, specifically because you do get that shard for free. But once he has the Scotty, we got a big problem. Because once he has the Scotty, then he's going to most likely look for a Silver Edge, and then suddenly Stonebank is going to need to be terrified of just getting omnied, getting broken after a fight. Stonebank is building up, though. He's getting quite scary himself. He's looking at an item like the Scotty. I think right now, the only reason these fights are going so haywire is the failure of DogChamp to find the Coddle. Analog still hasn't popped his BKB. The Coddle hasn't been under threat yet. I keep checking it, and it's just still 9 seconds as Yarn gets found out here. Oh, it was right on the money. That was a great pushback, but it's still a problem. You need to find the Coddle. You need to actually pull him out. Otherwise, these fights are just not happening. And now that you're in this mid-game stage, you don't want to trade with your opponents. You're playing versus a Beastmaster. They will push down your towers before you're really ready to do anything. It's unfortunately where the Spectre, great at killing heroes, when it comes to killing buildings, she's not nearly going to roll them fast enough, as Hokori's lineup is.
And Hokori just grouping up for another push. They traded out tier 1s, but they can go for the tier 2, and DogChamp, technically speaking, they could do the same, but as you just pointed out, it's a Spectre hitting your tier 2, as opposed to Beastmaster and another, really, 3/4 of the Hokori lineup, so they just burn through that, and now someone's got to come back. Yaron can't do this by himself. There is absolutely no way, and here come the TPs, but that chip damage is already coming into play. Yuma's the only person on the front line, so even if they want to jump, they're jumping onto an Aegis. Hokori know that they have a bit of an advantage to work with right now.
Yeah, and it's a really smart circle there from Yuma. And this is the interesting decision you have to make playing versus Spectre. Spectre is never going to go back into the base. So you can almost make a call of where Stonebank's going to be playing on the map. The question is, do you try to kill the 4 in the base, or do you try to cut off the Spectre where you can't meet your teammates? Instead, they're going to put pressure onto the next tier 2. And unfortunately, this Aegis is just posing a huge issue. They keep on putting the Nether Ward down. They keep on getting it cleaned up. That burst damage then becomes a threat, and with the healing ward and honestly the Helm of the Overlord aura, they're just losing all of these towers in concession. They can't really make that jump play because they know if they do, well, suddenly the stakes are no longer your mid-tier 1. It's going to be high ground. It's going to be the threat of Rax. Now they're going to clear up this bottom lane, but this is just every tier 2 for Hokori.
They have gotten everything that they wanted. They have not had to give up too much to Stonebank and DogChamp in the process, and I don't know, ET, it just feels like that map is shrinking at this point. What do you think? Do they need to make a move? Do they need to push out here? Because they're just getting kind of slowly starved out.
Yeah, and the other problem is, unfortunately, with this Tiny, because he went for the 4-step, because he's got items like the Yules queued up, you're not a secondary damage dealer. You're not going to be a carry. You're not going to be able to actually solo kill these heroes. You've got Avatos. It's where I question speed going for this item build, because of course then we also talk about BKBs. He wants one. He would love to, if this next team fight goes well, just queue one up with 4,000 gold in his backpack, but it's where if they do lose this next fight, we could see that confidence just evaporate. And this is a huge wrap. They want the backlane. They'd love to kill the Snap first, or El Misho. There's an Orchid reveal.
Okay. They got the silence down. Can actually find the kill, though. Well, not onto El Misho first. They actually get Vitali instead, but now they need to deal with the fight. The Omnislash comes through. Yuma, though, he bounced between too many heroes. Now he's going to get rooted up. He's in some serious trouble, in danger of losing that first life, but at this point they would really like Analog instead. They want that coddle. They will finally bring him down as Ryoya gets the kill, and now they can focus all of their attention on the Jug's second life. There is no one here to help him. And the smoke play works to perfection. It's a little bit sort of maybe scrambling on the haunt play in, but everything that they wanted. No casualties, 5 kills, Aegis burned, and that pressure is just immediately taken away.
Yep, Aegis burned. There's no roar. There's no spells coming in from the Nyx Assassin. They found the perfect target. That was the Orchid reveal, the silence on the Haunt jump. And then to top it all off, Yuma was not patient enough with his ultimate. He ended up bouncing between not just heroes, but also Haunt illusions. So then your Omnislash doesn't feel like anything either. You don't get to Blade Fury TP out either. Everything went wrong for Hokori in that fight. And now that should be a breath of fresh air for DogChamp. They get to relax a little bit more here. Of course, they kill their opponents with their cooldowns, so this next batch of cooldowns feel even slower. So you just get to feel, honestly, a whole bunch safer. Not to mention, Stonebank getting all of those kills, getting them alongside Ryoya. He's looking at a Skull Basher. Then suddenly, well, your Jug can't TP out. Your Jug has to be even more scared. His speed as well. Actually switching up his item builds. I think even the Blade, yeah, just buys a full Blade very confidently, knows that now maybe I can actually afford to switch things up, and actually gets to do something damage-wise with this build.
A B9. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's going to go down here. Oh, hold on. Buying some time. Yarn's going to heal him, but okay. They get the knockback again, and B9 is unable to escape. So, well, Crystal Maiden has to sort of sacrifice herself there, but the rest of DogChamp will just... I was going to say clear out, but Speed and Ryoya aren't leaving just yet. Don't know if they want to try for a turnaround, or maybe they're just looking for a more stable spot, but Yuma... Okay, they're going to try and hit him up. There's going to be the silence. There's the Avatos play. The Vortex pulls him back in, and Jug... Well, now we see maybe the downside of the S&Y instead of something like the Manta style. He doesn't have a way to remove the silence.
Yeah, just gets hard punished. Really smart play from that duo core. Just knowing they have enough damage there. And yeah, without the Manta, he is helpless. Without getting lucky with the items as well. Maybe once he gets a Stormcrafter, if he gets a Stormcrafter, we could see something like that get slotted in. But no, that's an unfortunate timing for Yuma. That was their next push onto that bottom tier 2 while there was still maybe 20 or 30 seconds on the Haunt. But Ryoya, oh my goodness. Huge
Okay.
zip.
Still got it. Amisho taken down. The haunt is interesting. Stonebank really does kind of need to make something happen here, and he is going to be able to push onto Gardic. Snapfire, not really able to do much in his own defense. He gets taken down. Now another long zip from Yoya. This time they catch out the Coddle. Analog, buying time, hit himself up with the Ghost Scepter, so he falls back to the base, but Vitaly had to use the Roar there in defense of his teammates, so even if you don't get that fourth kill, you still found some big ones, and you force out the exact kind of ult that Hokori would need to mount any sort of immediate comeback play.
Yeah, you now get to reset. You get to walk across the map. You know, we talk about really the Aegis now and what that's going to mean for both these teams, but I feel like Hokori, it takes time for them to get set up. It takes time for to get the Beastmaster situated, to get El Misho burrowed in a lane, to get Yuma behind him with the healing ward. And it's DogChamp finding those jumps in between that have really stopped the rhythm of Hokori. Without them actually finding those easy ways, without those setup, without spending, honestly, a full minute before they're ready to fight, they're not getting that prep time. They're really not getting any opportunity. And then they've just been dying pretty much because of that. They're not getting their safe havens. Not saying they need to retreat to their high ground and they have all their tier 2 towers, but it's just been punish after punish of them getting on their opponent's side of the map here. And they might find B9, but it's just a B9.
Well, it's a quick and easy kill, but that's a 5-man smoke. As you said, it's just B9, so really the play that they were hoping for. Do they... Yeah, they do have a little bit of vision, so they could just try and sort of take control of this triangle, get some of the Ob Sentry combos that DogChamp has set up out of here, and I suppose you take a little bit more farming room, but that's not quite the sort of haymaker that Hokori were hoping to throw with that play.
Yeah, no, they wanted anything into control, and honestly, with the CM kill, Gardic should be able to place some vision, not the high ground ward, because that'll just get dewarded, but he will be able to maybe place something behind the tower, just anything to either re-smoke to or catch their opponents off guard, because he actually does have another smoke in his inventory, because they know, minute till Roche, if they can find any pick on this side of the map into the pit, unless they have buybacks or they're saving up their gold, you're not going to have that easy rebuttal play. Should probably be seeing Stonebank save up all of his gold because, you know, Spectre kind of breaks the rules a little bit. You can always make something happen with your buyback, but that's where I was also watching mid lane. Yaren, too, would be quite the grab, but... Oh, the Carapace!
Speed got himself stunned. Vitaly comes in for the Roar. That actually pushes Ryoya back a little bit as well, but with Ryoya in this fight, I don't really know if Hokori can do this. Yeah, they're not going to be able to. Ryoya actually just wins the 1v1 against Vitaly. Now they're going to try and sort of regroup a little bit, as B9 kept Gardic in the area. He tries to jump onto the high ground, but well, that's a Storm Spirit. He can follow you pretty damn easily. They find the kill, and El Misho is still just kind of here. Gonna try to make a break for it, but there's the silence. Should be able to lock him down, and Speed gets the kill. So DogChamp are really, when it comes to these larger engagements, holding their own so much better now and actually just kind of picking Hokori apart, especially with Ryoya's play.
Yeah, and I think large in part it comes from the weakness in Hokori's lineup in really Vitaly not going for the BKB maybe a little bit sooner, greeting out for the Blink Dagger. We have not seen Vitaly find initiation with this Blink Dagger yet in this game. I don't think we've ever seen a fight start with the Blink Roar into a chained up El Misho stun, into another spell. It just hasn't happened. And in doing so, everybody is so weak versus these silences, and if I, check correctly, Stonebank has an Orchid for his own, so if he does find anybody without a BKB, it's yet again another target for them to move on to. At the very least, Yuma's able to finish his Scotty in the past few minutes here, and we should probably see another smoke up, from Hokori. But they know the gravity of the situation now. They know they need to get this hill, a hill that DogChamp already control, and then they have to be so prepared for this next team fight. Otherwise, Roche is next on the chopping block. That's going to be your next objective here. When the scan misses, DogChamp need to know they're to the left here. But Yaren...
Hunt's gonna come in, jumps his way forward. Ryoya pops a BKB and goes for it as well. They're immediately gonna take El Misho down. This is not really a great fight. They actually got onto Analog. They're really locking him down right now. This team fight is just too spread out for Hokori. Yuma over to the west, trying to Omni his way out of this, and for now, For now, it's going to keep him alive, but he's decrept up. That's going to force out the spin. He will TP home. And honestly, that's great news for Hokori, because everyone focused on Yuma. The rest of Hokori were able to just kind of walk away and not get themselves caught, but now they do give up control of the Roach Pit ET, and what do they have left to fight with? They used Roar and they used Omni.
Yeah, and it's so free. The Spectre does it so quickly. Even though Speed is taking a lot of damage in the river, it's got to be a hero play. It's got to be a blink in. But unfortunately, aside from Vitali, it is just Vitali, and just got his blink disabled by the ward. That's unfortunate, but okay damage, but
Not really damage onto any target that they can finish off right now. In fact, Yuma is the one who gets pulled back in and finished off. Now they get the silence onto Amisho. They're going to lock him down as well, and Hokori are really just sort of losing their grip on these team fights. They're just getting so spread out. Too many different targets that they're trying to hit up at the same time, considering they really only have what feels like 1 or 2 ways to actually get into those fights in the first place.
yeah, it's a real struggle. It feels like now they will start to kind of fall behind even more. The Aegis gets to go into Rioya for such a stressful situation. It's kind of amazing to me that DogChamp get to almost check themselves there. They know that there's no way Hokori can make it into the pick, so Rioya just kind of very casually zips up, gets to take it. There was never that kind of crazy reaction where there's any chance of Hokori actually making the steal happen. And at the same time, there's so many luxury items picked up across the board from DogChamp. I keep on looking at their inventories. It's a full hex on Rioya. Rioya is ready to counter out and kill really whoever at this point. And at the same time, Hokori have none of that luxury. No Force Staffs, no Lotus Orbs, no real defensive capability. And at the same time, I feel like El Misho has not really made this Ags work for me so far. He's been caught out in the beginning of so many of these fights, mainly by the Storm Spirit. Relay is just somehow finding his way onto his target every single time. It has to come from B9's vision, but it just keeps on landing. And at the same time, Speed is tanking so much damage. He's not dying. He's also killing right now, because El Misho looks like he might just go down again here. And that's just so sad outside the base. And Storm, maybe used half mana, but that's why Yaren, yep, call him up. Okay, suck at Bloody 9, but you know Relay is next on the list, and if they check the river, they'll see an Arcane Rune. Looking for Stonebank, though. This could be big, but without a break, this is going to be a messy kill.
Okay, they start with the Roar. The Omni Slash is going to be deployed. Damage is looking
Got
good.
it.
That required a lot of effort. 4 heroes in, but hey, they had to get a kill, right? They didn't really have much of a choice, and Yuma getting that kill means he gets the bulk of that gold, and he's working towards BKB coming up for him now as that next item. So potential game changer, because Yuma, he really has struggled to keep himself alive. Once the spin ends, he just kind of gets blown up.
Yeah, and that's the play they need to make. It's unfortunate that's the first time they caught the Spectre by himself, but I just need to keep on doing that. If you can cut the Spectre off on his own, he's never going to play with his team. They'll start playing with this team once they want to make an objective actually happen, but it's where there is this murky territory where DogChamp actually do need to break the high ground eventually. They can't just sit by and let this game go on forever. It's where they might give a little bit more of an opportunity to Hokori to finish off those items that they are severely lacking, especially on the support front, but it's times like this, I mean, the momentum is halted for DogChamp. There's still that pressure put on by the Storm Spirit, still in a position to really kill you anywhere and everywhere, especially with the Arcane Rune, but honestly, we'll have to see, because the high ground is still impervious.
Meantime, Vitali was able to push out a tier 2 bot, so Hokori are still getting some money going to them, but we'll see if DogChamp really try and take the plunge on this one. They are going to go in, and they're going to hit up the Coddle. They can get this early kill. That would be so huge for them, and they've got it. No one on the side of Hokori comes even close to helping out that Keeper of the Light. He does have buyback, but if you're Hokori, this is really not the situation. You don't want to be forced into buying back on one of your cores and TPing multiple heroes back in to defend this, considering they've got a push bot that, realistically speaking, could hit the tier 3, but at this point, I think they do kind of have to come back.
Well, and they have the glyph. That's their big advantage here. If they want to start on bottom, they can, but they bring in Stonebank. Now Stonebank's here. The trades are going to be made. Yeah, they're jumping bot.
And now they haunt in. Stonebank will arrive. They're going to try and find some quick kills. Yuma is down to about half HP, but he's able to survive the initial hit from that silence. He'll spin TP himself away. Tali, though, may not be nearly as fortunate. He's going to look for a TP home, but Stonebank is going to be able to take him down. No, Misho should be falling here as well. Meanwhile, back on the other side of the map, Tier 3 tower is not quite dead. Yaren, yeah, he'll greed out for it. Comes back in for the blast, and, well, unfortunately, if you're Hokori, you kind of get the worst of both options there. You lose your Tier 3, lose the heroes, and you don't get the tower that you were sort of risking it all for in the first place.
Yeah, and I think it's really smart from DogChamp to actually dislodge themselves and go for that turnaround play. I'm amazed that both supports stayed top to actually make that secondary fight happen, but they knew two cores or two heroes were dead bottom, so might as well take the fight here. They saved the buyback on the Keeper of the Light, which is huge in itself, but with Glyph being forced out in the fashion that it was, it should just be a very free Rax. Bloodthorn got completely finished by Stonebank as well, and most importantly, your Storm Spirit has an Ags. Doesn't have it on his body just yet here, but anything is still pretty scary, and Gardic, just help him. Somebody.
He's got the Glimmer Cave, so he'll try to help himself, but there comes Speed in with the Abatos combo. They take down the first support, they'll get the second soon after. This means, realistically speaking, they could just sit here and try to siege up another lane of Rax. Hokori going to be hard-pressed to sort of force a fight here without the supports, but they are going to go for it. They hit up the Spectre. There's a 4-staff, though. Even a toss back from Speed, getting Stonebank out of the line of fighter. And now if you're Hokori, do you really want to keep chasing this? They bought back on both their supports, so they did invest into this, but there's just nothing for them to catch. All of DogChamp are just walking away.
Maybe Speed? Nah. Maybe if Stonebank body blocked him with his Manta Illusions a little bit more, he might have been able to kill his teammate, but yeah, no, it's rough. It's tough. And now, again, the big items. DogChamp just have so much farm across the board. You have an Octarine on your Pugna. You've got an Ags finished up on Ryoya. Stonebank's about to buy either a Full Heart or an Abyssal Blade. The only thing we're missing right now is a BKB on Bloody Nine. And okay, there, he queued it up. So if this game goes another 5 minutes, that's a very real possibility. Without buybacks from Hokori, you do wonder how they're going to hold. I wonder if Analog is kicking himself right now. I felt like this Kato was kind of fell off the face of the earth, just not having an Orchid, not having items like a Hex. I wonder if he's really struggling with his itemization, because he kind of put himself in this spot. And for a 20,000 net worth hero, don't feel like we've heard a lot from the Kato in a very long time.
Fortunately for Hokori, this is kind of the exact wall that they ran into in their previous series, as we'll watch the fight instead. Ryoya's going to jump in. Gardic dropping low, taken down. Vitali's in some trouble as well. BKB doesn't really do a lot to protect him from that physical damage. As they pick up a second kill, what else can they get? El Misho, he's actually going to try and turn onto the Storm, and that's a nice little bit of burst damage to just take Ryoya out of the equation. The problem is, even with Ryoya dead, DogChamp can, realistically speaking, continue the push here.
Yeah, they still have a dieback on the Beastmaster. I feel like now, if they really need to, they can at least pester the high ground. It still might be a little bit scary, but unless there's an item like the Silver Edge, and that's not what the Jug decided to go for. Yuma instead has the Nullifier. Speed is a little bit out of his depth, and, well, there's the Nullifier there, but okay, nice 4-staffs actually getting himself out here, but I think that's where the high ground is still very annoying, but okay.
He's trying to get out, but he can't make it. Speed now blinks in. There's the toss back. They've caught out Yuma. He doesn't have spin.
Oh,
and he's dead. There's no buyback, and yeah, that might just be the end of it. And we'll try to finish the point really quickly. This is what happened to Hokori around the same timing as well in their series against Wildcard. They relied so heavily on just their default teamfight strength. They didn't have answers for, in Wildcard's case, BKBs. For DogChamp, it's a mix of BKBs and mobility items, but the fact still remains. Hokori did not build enough damage to transition into this sort of late game stage, and now we're seeing the results. They just can't kill anyone.
Yeah, and this is all without Storm. Really is mad. Really doesn't get to play at the end of the game here. He just gets to get killed top, and then suddenly the Ancient's dead. At least that's what it looks like it's going to be. It's a nice roar. They're trying everything. They're playing all their cards here, but with the vision, should be a dead Caudal. Does he have buyback? Nope. Yeah, this is just a sad death.
And there's going to be the GG. They get everybody taken down there at the end, as DogChamp will close out Game 1 in style, but Well, it wasn't easy for DogChamp. We can at least say that in Hokori's favor. They made their opponents work for it, but at the end of the day, they just dropped off the face of the earth in terms of their damage and their teamfight ability.
Yeah, and it's burned in my memory. Just that smoke from DogChamp. I think maybe they were still about 3K gold up. They might even been 3K gold behind. I can't remember. But the smoke from DogChamp that just found everybody in succession. When Yuma had the Aegis, they kill everybody and then some. It's that nightmare situation that kind of turned everything around in this game. That got Stonebake and Scotty. That got really all of the timers reset. That got Speed a full Ethereal Blade. And then suddenly, well, you're winning. Dogchip are the ones who can do whatever they want here. It's where Hikori never got that same setup. We went from killing tier 2s to struggling to hold a high ground where we can't even play in a single lane. And I think really Yuma just dropped the ball. His reactions were maybe a little bit slow. His itemization as well, just behind the 8 ball. We never got to see the Juggernaut who has a Silver Edge, who has a Basher, who has an Ag Shard, who is running around killing the Spectre after the Haunt, where Stonebank needs the illusions to make this matchup even when it shouldn't be even. And at the end of the day as well, there is a Pugnus Storm Spirit in this game. And it makes you wonder if maybe the opening was just a little bit too strong. There was no CK, there was no Grimstroke. I think really what it came down to, especially with the itemization from DogChamp, they had the Wraith Pact, they have the Pugna. It felt like DogChamp were playing Dota today. Maybe Hikori just playing a little bit too slow strategically and just physically. I felt like they were just behind pretty much at every stage here.
Yeah, and once you sort of fall behind against this opposing lineup, your chances of mounting a comeback are kind of slim. So Hokori, I don't know what we'll see from them in game two. Maybe they go for a faster pace. Maybe they try to avoid falling behind in the first place to just completely remove that threat. But are going to need to make some adjustments because this first game they really just looked like they were so out of sync with what they wanted to do execution.
Yeah, I just hope, as we always see, the team with choice usually wins, but unfortunately, this was not that case. I am scared for the series now. It's why the 2-0s are so prominent, because if you win with your first pick, well, you get scared more and more scared, and I think that's where maybe this Beastmaster opening wasn't as strong as Hikori were initially thinking, but that's why game 2 exists, right? You got spectered. Maybe let's not get spectered.
Yeah, maybe we avoid the Stonebank Spectre if possible.